Just clip this to my. Don't mind us. I just failed to get the microphones. So here we are.
This is a small little microphone.
Yeah, it works all right though. All right, so I was just here BSing with Brad and forgot to put our microphones on. Hopefully y'all can hear us out there. Let me know if you can't. If you can't hear us, I don't know how that you know that I'm asking you if you can or can't. But
maybe they can. Maybe they can read lips.
Yeah, something.
My sign language, I only know a few hand gestures. So
anyway, we're supposed to have Billy on here in a little bit.
He might be stuck in the mud still.
He might be, man. That looked pretty okay. We're getting thumbs up from Stacy that she can hear us. So okay, sound good. Thank you, Gabe. So Brad Dixon, for any of you that don't know out there, he is the promoter of the SuperTech 600.
And I'm also your new neighbor.
Yeah, and the new neighbor. You moved to just across the lake. We were having a phone conversation. I said, if we could travel across the lake, you're way closer than I have to go around the lake to do anything.
Right, but it's a nice, pretty drive.
It is.
It's only 10 minutes, so it's kind of.
It is, and it's kind of fun. My mom, she lives on like about halfway between us, and Logan and I, we've kayaked. We put in up here and kayaked over to her place before and that kind of stuff. So,
well, from where I'm at, there's a lot more racing folks up here.
Yeah,
I see more race cars and more retired race cars in yards around here than I do where I came from. That's for
sure. Has there been any like culture shock yet? Like, is there any big differences that you're just like, man, this isn't how it is down south?
I didn't play baseball when I was little, but I know about the red stains in your clothes. And this red dirt seems to stain everything. I mean, it's everywhere. So we're used to black gumbo where I'm from, and this red dirt slime, whatever y'all got, it. You know what's crazy is where I came from. You know, we went through Hurricane Harvey, which I don't know if you're up here, so you didn't. Anyway, I have PTSD more or less from Hurricane Harvey. Okay. It was a rough deal. We had 8 feet of water in the house, but I told the wife, we moved away from there, and I said, you know what, we don't have to worry about hurricanes. And I'm not kidding you. We've been here literally for about 3 weeks, and I've never seen so much rain. I'm like, what is the difference?
Yeah, it's horrible. And you talk about hurricanes. One night I was sitting here, I'm by myself playing guitar, and I have the door open, and it's a little bit storming out. Mm-hmm. And just all of a sudden, a wall of water blows completely in under, like just completely soaks me. And then we just have wind all of a sudden. It wasn't like, it didn't ease up. It was like this wall of wind come. And the next morning I went down to, it was a 7-Eleven then, and it had no roof. It had just completely, just straight line winds.
Wow.
Blown. Yeah. And my little house isn't a whole lot. And when I moved here, I'm like, man, it's kind of rickety. But then I look at houses around and I'm like, must not get many tornadoes or stuff like that because they're standing. Yeah. But it was scary.
The rain's been intense. And then I'm trying to keep up with Billy in Australia. And I was like, it looks like the rain's intense over there with jackets, campfires, everything else is going on with old Billy.
Yeah, so. He's crazy. Matter of fact, there he is right there. So, I don't know. He's not looking at it. There we go. All right, Billy, we're bringing you in. There you go. We got you sound. And so you're inside. You're out of the weather. Is it still raining there?
No, the sun's shining today. It's just I didn't want to sit in the fucking cold.
Right on. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. Sometimes I worry about feedback. So it was like watching from here. It was just a mess. The 100 lapper, huh?
Oh man, I tell you what, Alexander Speedway and that whole Speedway club that they have running that place did a phenomenal job trying to make things happen for us. They knew me, Matt, and Alan came a long ways, and they wanted us to get to enjoy the race. It just didn't work out. Of course, the sun was shining when we got there, and the sun was shining the day we left, but it was just like a drizzling shit rain. It's like shit or get off the pot with the rain. It was, either rain a bunch and get it over with, or something. But it was just a light drizzle the whole time. We had a few okay showers where you had to kind of get out of it, but yeah, it just made it a sloppy mess. Matter of fact, Donis, he just walked outside. He's headed out there to do some washing. We washed on just the cars for, I don't know, 3 hours yesterday until it got dark, and still not even done with them. And it's an inch of mud in his trailer, probably more than that on the trailer I'm using. Everything's soaked in mud right now. That's my helmet right here, and I only made about 5 green flag laps all weekend, and I probably went through 15 tear offs.
So Billy, I hear you had a little bit of it pushed when you went into the corner. Did they not have a right front brake shut off, or since y'all make right hand turns too, that ain't an option?
I was hydroplaning, I think. During that race, I'd started on the pole. That was my first heat race, and we go out. I'm doing good. I'm making it through the dog leg and everything, and we about got a lap in. I think I'm in second at this point, but not by far. Yellow comes out. All right, we start again. Another guy comes in there, hits me, then shoves me off into the water. I slide through the mud up into him, and then I think he ended up wiping somebody else out. Caution comes out again. So we still haven't done a lap. And I've been in one wreck. And then the next one, same guy kind of plows through everybody because they moved him to the back for doing what he did the last race, the last start. And then he spins somebody out. He's still out there. They move him back to the back. And then the next time they're I think we did this like 3 or 4 times without making a lap, and each time I'm starting on the pole, and I'm just like, this is the longest race of my life, and it's sprinkling. I'm trying to dry my tear offs off instead of pulling them, and by this time I'd pushed and then hit and turned and spun and hit on both sides, and the front end was out of whack, and it was so muddy at this point because it was already muddy, and I was in the like 4th or 5th heat of the day, I think. And they didn't really do hot laps or anything, right? And I would say it's one lane, but it was just like one lane where there wasn't water standing, right? And so, we're going through that. Well, the front end's out of whack, but I can't even tell if it is because it's like you could do like this and the car still goes straight. You had to just turn with the gas pedal. So you'd go into the corner, just kind of gas it and just get some wheel spin in it to go into the turn. No, you wouldn't get no speed out of it for sure. Well, we finally get going, and I'm probably running 3rd, maybe 4th at this point, about 3 laps into this race. And I go into the big turn after all the dog leg stuff, and I'm just like this. I'm on the brake. I'm hitting the gas, trying to get it to do nothing. Of course, you hit the brake, you speed up, and just slid it right into the wall, and wiped out the right front. Pretty good lick, especially because the wall's on that side, right? I hit the wall. It's right here. It's right here beside me. And anyhow, the crew, man, Donna's his dad, and Connor and Charlie and Paul and everybody that was there. Just I don't know. It was like 5 or 6 people just hustling to get it fixed, and didn't have a couple of parts, so we straightened them and things like that. And they got rack and pinion front ends on them, so we had to check that and change one of the tie rods on it off of another rack. And didn't have time to put the shock on. They were going to put the shock on. I said, just leave it. We don't have time. They give us you can go up there and request a 2-minute deal so that they have time to get on the track. Just because there's so many heat races, you have 3 heat races the first day, and then a 4th heat race the second day with the B, and the finally the 100 lapper, right? So you're kind of struggling if things are moving along, and you've fucked up as bad as I did. So they give us a 2-minute deal. Well, I'm already getting in the car, and another problem we had in the middle of all this was when I hit the wall. Apparently, it cracked the fuel cell. It's aluminum. It's not like our fuel cells. It's more like I would say it's like an aluminum. It looks like a race tank, but it's all aluminum. It don't have it's not a plastic liner and with a metal casing around it and all that stuff. Well, it cracked it. So we found that leaking. Connor found that, luckily, and they went and got some putty stuff somewhere and got that fixed. So we're trying to fix all this stuff, and I'm running around. Have you seen the videos? The guy's just running around like he's doing something, but he's not getting nothing done. That's what I was doing the whole time because everybody was just doing it, And I'm like, shit, I'm usually the guy having to work on it and telling people what tools I need. Now I'm the gopher. But anyways, go out on the track, and I immediately noticed as soon as I would turn left, I could hear some rubbing. And I'm thinking, well, there's so much mud on the car you can't see the sides. I'm thinking, well, it probably pulled in some of the fender liner or something and is rubbing the tire, as the car rotates. That's the only thing I could think, because the car, it was handling pretty good. First lap, I'd passed like 3 cars. Our first turn, I passed like 3 cars. We go on the dog leg. I get under another guy, and I slowed down a little bit, and somebody got by me, and I was door to door with another guy, and we're doing pretty good. Get on around the through the dog legs and S-turn shit there, and I want to say I might have made 1 lap in that race. It's hard to remember. It was I drank a lot Sunday night, so it's kind of hard for me to remember. But anyways, I head into the big turn over there, and it just quit pulling, made a loud noise, and apparently, when I'd hit the wall in the heat before, one thing that we had overlooked was a broken upper trailing arm. So it was the rear end was moving over, and the drive shaft was rubbing, and it finally it moved over enough to snap it. Because the track was pretty good at that point. You could actually gas on it. So I sent it off into that turn, and the car bowed up, and it ripped it right in half. I posted a picture of it, but yeah, ripped that sucker right in half, and that sucked pretty bad, having to get towed off the track 2 times in a row. So we got it off the track, and that was kind of the end of our day. And because we didn't have another drive shaft. Donis had one in the trailer, but it was too long. It was for his car. His car is a little different setup than mine. So trying to get that figured out, and making a game plan at least for the next day for the 4th heat and the B main. And I'm already way down in passing points, obviously. And anyways, it starts raining 2 heats before my 3rd heat, and they called the race. And I'm like, and I was already saying, I was like, if it just rains out before my heat, we'll have time to get this thing fixed where we don't miss it. So that was about the only luck I'd had so far at this point. And it was a rain out, So it rains out, and Pappy, Donna's dad, takes the drive shaft and the broke trailing arm back down to, man, I wish Donis was over here so I could ask him that guy's name. I can't forget. It's a guy over here, and he hooked us up. He worked till midnight building us a drive shaft and rebuilding this trailing arm. It's got a heim joint, and it's it beefed it up and stuff. So it made it real nice for us. Hell of a job on the drive shaft. And, really, I mean, to where it's a holiday weekend, it was a holiday weekend, and it was a Saturday night, and the dude worked till midnight helping us out. So I greatly appreciate that, and to Pappy for making that happen too. Um, uh, anyways, come back the next day, and I'll be damned if we didn't have more bad luck. I go out for my heat. It's real early, so the track's still super muddy, but it's better than it was. Maybe I wouldn't say better. Probably about the same as it was in my other heat. It just wasn't sprinkling at the time. And anyhow, get out there. There's a little bit of traction, and I did good. I'm passing, and I'm making some shit work. And second lap, I'm going through the dog leg. Somebody tags me in the back bumper, turns me sideways, and then bam, right in the right rear tire, and then climbed up on the left or right front of the car, and it snapped my axle, and that just kind of put an end to it because they wasn't going to run a B main. I didn't have no chance of redeeming myself in the last two races because at that point I was 51st or 52nd in passing points, but I wasn't too far off from making it into the top 40 there. So I could have had a couple of good finishes and made some shit work, but that was pretty much the end of it. And then we had another axle ready, but it was a little too long, so we were going to have to cut it. We didn't want to do that because that was the spare for Donna's car, and his is a little longer for whatever reason. A little different rear end, but the same axles. I don't know Ford stuff. I don't know.
So Dave commented on here. He said John Pitt at Hillsville Engineering, probably.
Yes, that's right. That's Pitt. I know. I was thinking it was Lit for some reason, and then I was like, that ain't right. But yeah, man, yeah, John Pitt. He made that drive shaft and fixed that trailer arm for us, and hopefully I get to shake his hand before I leave out next week because I greatly appreciate that. He made it happen for us, even though we didn't have any good results. But we had a good time. The poor Adonis, he was leading his last heat by a mile and broke the transmission. So he pulls in, and we just all start getting ready. He's getting the transmission pulled out of this thing, and again, I'm the gopher. I'm just standing there, and every time somebody yelled what tool they needed, I'd run in the toolbox and get it. And it's so muddy, y'all. Them poor guys laying under the car are just getting absolutely covered in mud. I don't know if you've seen Don's video with the bacon wrap, but that's pretty much what everybody on the crew looked like all weekend because it was just you're talking about this deep of mud everywhere you're walking, and it's just like slosh mud, and so you have no choice but to get muddy. Taking a tire off or putting a tire on was just ridiculously hard because you couldn't get no grip on the damn thing. But yeah, those guys were busting ass on that, and then and they had a driver's meeting there because it started sprinkling as he pulled in, and so I went up there to see what they were going to say, and they canceled the race. So I had to walk back down and tell him why he's laying underneath the car, trying to change the transmission before the next race that it's rained out. So anyway, it just
I'm a little fascinated from the very beginning of the story. In racing, there's always a first for everything. And I've heard people say this and that. You're the first guy I know that was pulling tear-offs from the pole in your first heat race. Like, wait,
it was.
You were on the pole and you were pulling tear-offs. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was like we were under a caution one time, and there was a guy way ahead of me, but it was one of those big tire cars, and it's so cold and humid up there. I had my visor cracked open about halfway, just trying to get it to unfog itself. Big chunk of mud just wedges itself right here by my eye, and I could see it my fucking gloves covered in mud too, so I can't dig it out, and I'm just like, I'm miserable right now, you know. And then I'm having to pull tear offs because of the rain, and it was just like, oh man, the poor people at the track trying their best to make it work, and weather was just not cooperating. And I hate it. I hate it for everybody, but um, that's racing. Sometimes, sometimes you get a little Mother Nature gets a little pissed off at you, I guess.
Well, did you dig into your inner youth and redeem yourself at this go kart event that was supposed to happen as a makeup type situation?
So we're doing that Friday, which is 2 days from now for
Okay.
y'all, or it would be Thursday for y'all. But anyways, yeah, I plan on wrecking everybody. So I might even wear my race suit. So we're gonna have a lot of fun there. That's a great group of guys that's going to be on there. I think I've met, I don't know, 95% of them. Even if I don't remember their name, I'm terrible at names. I'm glad
Down under there are 10 millimeter sockets as elusive as they are here in the States.
Yeah. I'll tell you what's been hard for me, because as soon as I got here, as I mentioned last week, me and Donna's dad, I wasn't here 30 minutes. I got my phone working, and then he pulls up, and we start working on Donna's car. And I worked on my car some through the week, and we just got typical race week stuff. You're working, you're getting stuff ready, and then working on the cars at the track and stuff. And I was, and those cars are kind of like our metric cars. It's kind of a mixture of some shit's metric bolts, some standard, or as they call it here, imperial. So I'm just constantly trying to find a nut for something, and I'm trying to figure out if it's metric or standard thread, or just or if if it's a metric socket. So I'm just getting out all the tools and bringing them over there until something fits. It was just that it made everything I did slower and made me look dumber than usual.
How do those go karts compare over there? Me and Trent one time raced go karts in Malaysia, and they were like, "Oh, these go karts, they go 65 miles an hour," but then they had flapper brakes that just went against the tires. And I'm like, even if we could get up to speed, we can't stop this. How do the go karts compare? Have you seen them yet?
No, I haven't seen them yet. I'm ready to go look at that. I had to download an app earlier to register for it, so I'm hoping that means that they're fast. So I haven't got on there and done that yet. I just downloaded the app and hadn't got on there, but hopefully hopefully they're fairly quick, and not like some of the ones back home where it's got a 500-pound rail around it. But no, I know we got to wear a helmet, so surely that means that they're somewhat quick.
Well, I got a question for you because I was a little intrigued. Enlighten me and Lee on the type of wheels that some of these cars have, because they look like it's an 8-inch sprint car center with a bead lot. I just hope these wheels don't make it to the United States because they look really badass, but they look really expensive. So what is the story on those wheels?
So like on Donna's car, that's exactly what it is. It's like a sprint car front wheels, and I don't know where you got them to where they're bead lock and stuff, but yeah, they look fucking killer on there.
Yeah, but like a sprint car wheel, it doesn't even remotely bolt up to a stock type hub. Did he have those centers made?
I don't know. I assume that's like a Ford 4.5 hole pattern. So and there's no extra holes drilled in it, so I'm not sure. They sure look good though. I like them. And then the wheels that's on my car, I don't even know what those are, but that's probably the lightest tire and wheel combo I've ever picked up, besides like a late model tire.
Those need to make it back to the States. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that wheel's pretty trick. And I was like, wonder where. I guess it's an Australia thing, but they're pretty awesome.
So
Yeah, most people are using aluminum wheels. I can pick the wheels up on mine, which look beefy as hell, but I can pick it up in one hand and stick it on the car.
Gotcha.
So we got some comments here. Owen Pittman, he says you need to get back here and work on caging out some Crown Vics.
Yeah,
Our buddy
definitely.
Skinny's asking if the Friday the 13th race is going to be streamed on anything, and says great job, guys.
I'm not sure. I'll have to see what we can do. I'm sure. So when we're going to be doing that, it's going to be late at night. So it'll probably be like 3 or 4 in the morning over there when we do that. So I'm going to try to record as much of it as I can, and put my camera on the carts when I'm running, just for video purposes. I didn't put my camera in nothing this weekend. It was so muddy. It just, and I wouldn't have got anything anyways, other than me being in a bunch of fucking wrecks. But
Dennis Reed says hopefully next time around the weather's a lot nicer and we can have I think he means proper track there. I don't know if y'all are doing crack or not, but hopefully proper track.
Well, have a proper crack at it,
Yeah, well, maybe so. Yeah, maybe.
But nobody's offering track.
Everything to make it happen, so that was cool.
Yeah. They did great trying to make some shit happen. So
TJ says I need to turn Brad's volume up, so you just got to talk louder.
Talk a little bit louder.
Yeah, okay. I don't have that ability.
Listen better, TJ.
The ones on yours are alloy rim with a beadlock welded on.
Okay.
Nice.
Gabe Alvarado, are you going to the Iowa Enduro, Billy?
No, I'm not.
And
no,
wait. Don't answer that so fast, because me and Trent haven't decided if we're going. And now that Billy lives 15 minutes away, I might need a co-pilot or a rider.
Right, yeah.
So I hadn't talked to you about that yet, but I might say, hey, Billy, let's share the drive and let's get up there.
So, and then Robert Garlick says Billy's wheels are CSA. How long did it take you to wash the car, Billy?
Well, we're on day 2 of washing it there, Gumboot. How long did it take? I tell you about Mr. Robert Garlick here. We call him Gumboot. His car had so much mud on it that the springs were completely compressed on the back, and the car wouldn't bounce or nothing. It was just sitting on the tires. It was crazy. One of his cars, which is the one Alan drove, is the one I posted a picture of yesterday. That was, you couldn't even read the sides of it. It was so covered in mud.
And Owen says you should go to the Iowa Enduro also.
I was going to come race on the asphalt track there, Owen. I was going to go down there and burn some more of your tires up on that Crown Vic.
Hey, I got a question for you, Billy. So things are different, definitely, in Australia. But one of the things that caught my eye, we got Race On down here, which I love that name. I will give them credit in Australia. The Clay Preview, that is a good play on words. That's actually pretty clever. But
definitely,
I was watching a deal in Tech, and they don't call it Tech. Do they call it Scrutinize or
scrutineering?
Scrutineering. Man, I think that's a new polished way to tell a guy about what's wrong with his car. You're not getting checked, you're getting scrutineered.
Yeah.
I definitely felt scrutineered there last year when they checked my stock. When they checked me this year, I had 3 pairs with me.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Highline Racewear, they made me my own pair that had my name and stuff on them. So
that's awesome.
So
yeah,
we heard a little bit about you. We saw some of what Matt did. Alan did. What happened with Matt? I figured he was an old pasture racer from way back. I thought he would definitely be the surprise horse in the race. How did Matt do?
Well, the first race out, he caught on fire. I forget what happened. I forget what happened on that, but yeah, he caught on fire, and then something went out on it. I don't remember exactly what it was. A pulley broke or something.
So he took his, what was that, second year Lone Star 600 catching on fire.
Yeah, yeah.
All the
So
way to Australia.
it wasn't a bad fire, but yeah, he broke that, and then later on, an alternator went bad, which he thinks was probably from getting having something soaked in oil and smoke and fire extinguisher dust. But and those cars are fuel injected and stuff, and you got to have an alternator on them.
Right.
So we think that's what happened with that on his second race. I'm not sure what happened on another one. I watched a little bit of one of his races. I think he finished. It was just one of those races where the thing is it's a mixed group of cars. So we're out there in our little inline sixes, which aren't no slouches. I feel like it feels like it's got the same pulling power as like a factory stock motor, and but but then you got guys out there with these big ass LSs, and the rear tires on them are sprint car right rears on both rear tires, and they got the mono leafs with coilovers. They're basically like an old late model you're racing against, and that's the guys. If there's one in your heat and he pulls up next to you, just go ahead and let him by, because he's going to beat you. You're not gonna hold him up, especially on a track like we were dealing with, where it was some muddy. You needed more tire. You needed more tire or skis, one of the two.
Right. It was a little hard. We were having all kinds of crazy weather and storms over here. Where I'm at, my power, I don't know. I don't have power half the time with all the storms here lately. So I had a hard
That's how
time
it is.
keeping up with you.
That's how it is at my house. Anytime the power goes out, and if it's not storming, which it does happen, the power will just go out. I got to call and make sure I paid the bill, or if something happened. Because that happened to me one time. I called the bitch about it being out, and they called me back, and they was like, "Well, it's out because you didn't pay your bill." And I was like, fuck.
So I did it once. We were I paid my bill, and then I come home and I think the power's gone out. Right? I'm just like, well, the power. Somebody must have hit a pole or something. So then, after it doesn't come back on for a while, I get on and check, and I just didn't. I saw this like $2 fee, and I thought it was a service fee on how I'd paid. But instead of paying like 200, I paid $2 or whatever.
Gotcha.
And that was not enough for them to keep the electric on. They shut it off. But I was just sure. I'm like, no, I paid that bill.
Heck yeah.
But no, it was
They let it stay on another 5 minutes or so.
yeah. Had the decimal in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
So let's let Brad talk about the SuperTech 600 a little bit.
Yeah. That's the next big thing.
Well, heck yeah, and I hope Donis is he planning on maybe trying to come down and participate in that? You got something up your sleeve you might be able to drive?
He'll be there because I'm making sure of it. Like me and Lee and our good buddy Chris White, we've all kind of been talking, and we'll probably do some sort of collaboration help deal to make sure that Donna's gets to run that one way or another. Chris White's got 500 cars at his place, so we're gonna either, if we can't get one of his together, we'll throw something together on my end, because I don't have 500, but I got at least 350. So we'll figure something out to make sure he's in a quality ride and have a good crack at it, because he's a damn good wheelman. He was kicking ass this weekend until he had some troubles, but yeah.
I'll tell you, my first encounter with Donis is, he was from Australia. So I was like, hey, it's pretty cool. Got the Australian here. And then I'll be darned if I had to disqualify him because he was moving under red. And I was like, I haven't encountered a whole lot of Australian racers other than the Baker family at HMP, and they were always cordial. I mean, the Bakers are a phenomenal family. But so I go up to him and I said, hey, you moved under red. And he goes, yeah, well, the car didn't have brakes. I could, the brakes went out. And this, I said, well, if it didn't have brakes, you shouldn't have been out there racing. And he says, well, yeah, I know I should have been disqualified, mate. It's okay. I was like, all right, cool. He he didn't quite, the 600's a different style race altogether. But I mean,
Yeah.
the way, to be able to go up to him right after,
Right.
kind of even in the heat of the moment, he was like, "Oh, I get it. So I love the way he races and understands the race because he's out there to race hard, but he's not out there to tear anybody up. And usually
Right.
when you think of the race like that, oh, it's an enduro race, and you see some of the cars, it would be easy for Donis to say, "Man, I gotta bang my way to the front."
Right.
Like, he is a one clean racer.
And Skinny
He's
here, he said,
definitely.
Skinny's commenting on us about cars and whatever, and he says Skinny's Automotive is in for anything we need, and we're going to eat good, which we know. We know
Oh,
we're going to eat good, but
I had
He's
some of the
always
guys
trying to
that came over last year. Was like, yeah, they got a guy over there that's cooking in a barrel. But,
Yeah.
Donis, man, he is a really clean driver, and he there was they're over here they then the type of racing we're doing here they say it's non-contact sport, so you rub on somebody a little bit and they will penalize you for it. They don't put up with nothing. They were pretty consistent on their calls, I think. And they were trying to give a little leeway just because people were sliding around and stuff. But yeah, he's a very understanding guy. He's shit. He knows shit happens. You get disqualified. Well, you're not going to get disqualified for nothing. So
right.
he understands the rules and stuff. And
Does Donis have any other guys he can bring from across the pond? He needs to
uh,
bring a few more racers.
well, we're trying to get Robert Garlick there, Gumboot, to come over. He's just saving pennies and stuff. So if we can get him over, that would be awesome. I'd love to have him over. He's a good dude.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the one thing that you have to prep Donis on is, Dragon Slayer Industries, along with the Infield Tractor Tires, making the pit party happen on
Yeah.
Friday. Well, we've never had that happen before, so we don't want to get Donis. I want the Donis that races Friday to be the same coherent Donis that races on Saturday. So we might have to put a 2-beer limit on him. So the part, and you too, and you,
So I have a buddy, and his wife was a bartender, and we'd be in there drinking, and he would call her, and he'd be, don't you get him too drunk, because they always swore that I drove better hungover. And I always said, we had them dry tracks out there, and I always said, I don't want the tires to shake. Like, I don't want to hear the motor rev. Don't want the tires to shake if I'm all hungover. But yeah, he would call her and be like, don't you serve him too much.
Yeah.
Over here, they'll breathalyze you the next morning. There was a couple people that didn't get to race because of it. So,
Yeah.
like Friday night, we just had a few beers, and Saturday night just had a couple. I think I might have had 4 beers all Saturday night after the rain out, and then Sunday after the races, I might have stayed up to about 4:35 in the morning, and so Monday packing up was pretty rough for all of us.
Well, maybe Donis can bring the guy as a backup driver if he wants to party too hard. It didn't Hot Carl do that? He had a little too much fun on Friday and put Tito in it on Saturday or something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much how that went down. And they're about a 2-foot difference on height. I don't know how they made that work with the pedals and the steering wheel, but yeah.
Good stuff.
Felicity here says, pick me, I'll even pay my way. So
I'm sure you can find somebody that would be willing to lend you a ride out here or out there.
So
Definitely.
yeah, I'm trying to get something together. I got a couple of people in mind. I got a buddy, Billy Simpkins, and his daughter. I'm trying to talk them into coming out, and one of them drive one day and one of them drive the next day. And we had him on here one day, and I asked him, I said, if we put another seat in there, would you ride with Sonny? And he was it took him, and I did him dirty on that, but he was like, no, I would.
Well, we're excited to go back to Rocket Raceway. I know we were at 105 last year, and Joey Smith at 105, everything was phenomenal. And after kind of looking at the whole scenario of it, I think the only thing that was missing was the old style format.
Yeah.
And so, the old style format is kind of what made the 600 what it was. And then, when we started the 600 years ago, times have changed, technology's gotten better. So just like, this little deal you're doing here, the ability to use now and implement transponders. We got the people from Westhold flying in. They're going to actually score the event for us. So we're kind of excited about that. It's going to be a little bit different because, the scores themselves were their own little kind of family. They became their own family within the scores. But now I have a feeling they might even go sit in the scores area and just hang out and have their own scores party. They ought to start a scores Facebook page to where all the scores can have a little reunion and hang out and do their thing without having to score. So that might be a neat little deal. But we're going to use transponders, and we're going back to the old format. And Rocket's going to be a phenomenal place because you got to have a track with some I guess escape room.
Yeah,
and Rocket has that for us.
And I could have looked at this, but fuel stop or no fuel stop this year?
No fuel stop.
And I like that.
The reason is there was a whole host of reasons for the fuel stop. At Devil's Bowl, we did it because there was the infield and the outfield parking, this, that, and the other. It kind of got a little cantankerous, that, and the other. We're able to actually have, the fire crew staged on the outside at Rocket. So if you have to pull off for fuel, but I do like the no fuel stop because it brings strategy back into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was turning and I, I like to go fast, but I also like it to be, I guess, more of a strategic type steel. Not the fastest horse doesn't need to win the Kentucky Derby, necessarily, but I wanted it to bring back so the strategy's back.
Yeah.
And
day 2, when we were going to go 300 laps, I had run third in the 200 lapper, and was so glad to see you at the scales because there was a little debacle there where the guy in front of me was light and I was light, and you showed up, and I'm like, I don't know, but we got to get this car is not under 3,000 pounds.
Well,
I promise you.
And see, that's the hard part because on the scales, especially with Brens, when you leave the scales with a Bren, you pretty much ruin the scales,
right?
That's kind of why I'm a big fan of, hey, push the cars on, push the cars off, but sometimes you can't.
But you showed up, like, we got it all figured out, and that was good. And so then after 200 laps on Friday night, and then 300 was going to be Saturday, we actually cut our tire open, my right rear, and was measuring how far that I had to go before I was on cords. And because there was definitely, when we set out for day 2, you could see there was 2 different trains of thoughts. There was guys trying to get enough laps in that they could change tires. And then, like me, I was just like, I think, I talked to it with Chris that just come in and sat down. I was like, I think if I just back off maybe 10%, I think we can go these 300 laps.
Well, that's where I Trent, little guy. He always surprises me. I'm blessed because he's a phenomenal little driver. But when he won Friday, won the 200, he was all excited, but the tires were bald, and I mean bald. Well, Trent listens. So I told Trent, I said, hey, you can run it hard, but we're going to have to come in at halfway and change shoes. So that was our game plan. No matter what, he was coming in to change shoes. He pulls in halfway. Well, he had been easier on the throttle, and this he could have went the whole 300 and we changed laps. So our strategy, I think he finished 6th on Saturday, but he probably would have been maybe the overall champion. I don't know if he would have won outright, All White and all those guys. Everybody did a phenomenal job, outran him, but our strategy definitely cost him. But he learned, and he was like, so it was. But the new strategy coming back is going to be huge.
It was, and it was so, like, that was my best finish since I've been doing this. That was my 3rd one. And I had my earbuds in, but couldn't hear real well what was going on. So we get the red, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, we got to be getting close, at the 200 lap on Friday. And my other thought is like, I've been passed, just people were passing me, and I'm just like, of all the years for there to be a dozen cars finish on the lead lap is what I felt like.
Right.
I don't know where I'm at, but I felt like everybody was faster than me. And then I saw the guy in front of me taking his helmet off, and so I kind of waited, and then I saw quads going around. I'm like, oh, thank goodness, we must be done. They rode up, told me to go to tech, and I'm like, awesome, like I made top 5, and so it turned out I was third. Was just an awesome time, and we put it on jack stands, tore the body off of it, and just tried to go completely through it for the next day, and we ended up. I'd put my idler arm. It's been a while since I've done this stuff. I took an 8-year hiatus. I had put the idler arm bracket on backwards, so it was offset the wrong way. And we took a bump from a guy. I got into him, and I think he was going to tell me quit doing that. Was basically, I'm okay. He didn't get into me real hard or anything. Just he let me know he did not appreciate me getting into him. Fine, but when he did that, it was enough, and it flipped that idler arm around backwards, flipped it over center, and then that wore a hole. The cotter pin and hole wore a hole in the damn radiator hose with it backwards, and so that was the end of our deal. But I just tell everybody, I'm like, dude, that's the most fun race you're ever gonna do. Everybody is so helpful in the pits. They're just like, if you need anything, you need, come by, and just Howard Willis. I don't know him well, and I talked to him a little bit, and he's like, man, you need anything, you just come by and let us know. If we got it, it's yours, and just everybody is like that. Everybody that the guys with the drag race, the farm truck, and farm truck guy, he was super nice.
And I use my personal, little experience, and I tell other young drivers, some people say, well, Trent, he races a sprint car, but then he drives this modified at the 600, but he never runs a modified any other time. And for him, where it really benefits is, yes, you got to really think. It will exercise your brain and your physical ability, but you also have to pace yourself.
Yeah.
And so when Trent was able to do that, and we've gone up to Iowa, and we've run these enduros, he finished 10th in Iowa, and he, I think, finished 6th at the solo 275. But when he gets into that sprint car, he knows he can go full throttle mentally and physically for 25 laps because he knows that end is in sight.
Yeah.
So, I think it's good for him. But Trent also gets mad because he works out but doesn't. Before enduros, he has to run 5 miles a day. He has to do his 100, and this is weeks, So usually about 6 weeks before any enduro, he's running all in the morning, running in the evening, doing push-ups, and I think it helps him, you know. But I also encourage anybody that's in a factory stock or a limited that's just starting out or only 2 or 3 years. This enduro will accelerate your racing program because you start off on a slick, wet track, then it goes tacky for about 20 laps, then it gets a little dry, and then it takes on rubber. You get everything, and you're not allowed to change your setup. You have to change your driving style. So I think it's huge for anybody that wants to improve their racing game. And then the other thing is some of these guys have, their factories or their limiteds. Well, they have a setup on it. Well, they'll figure out which track condition that setup that they currently have doesn't work, because you're going to get your deal.
That's what I always tell people too. It's such good seat time because you have time to figure out what to do driving wise to adjust to what your car's doing. And on a regular race, you don't have that advantage. By the time you figure it out, the race is over, or you're a lap down, or whatever. So I think having the advantage of going, well, the car sucks on the bottom and this is what it's doing. And I'll move up to the middle, see if it's any better. I'll move up to the top, see if it's any better. I'll let off sooner. I'll drive in further, easier on the gas, harder on the brakes, whatever it is, you have time to adjust yourself to make yourself faster.
Yeah.
And that's a good way of, and then when you get back in your car at a normal race, it takes you a lap instead of 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good way to definitely evaluate your program. It's kind of like, Adonis always does this bacon wrap where he kind of evaluates what's going on and talks about what's going on. I think we need to get Race on to mic his helmet up so he can do his bacon wrap under reds or while he's on the track, just flip it up and start giving us the play-by-play. Hey, this is Adonis. Sometimes, I always wonder if I'm in a dark alley or somebody taps me on the shoulder. Adonis here. Oh, watch out, So
yeah, in case you didn't recognize him.
That's it. Absolutely.
One thing that was interesting too at 105 was logging data on that LS, and when I went back through it, how few times I was at wide open throttle. You're just kind of making your way around there and picking your spots and doing all that, And so I get people that ask me, well, what do you need for motor? And I'm just like, well, I basically have a stock LS except the cam. And I'm like, it was plenty at 105. I don't know how it's going to be there. I didn't get a good chance to air it out up at Devil's Bowl or anything. But I'm like, you don't need a whole ton of engine to do these.
And even on Trent's car, sometimes, when he ran a 4-barrel, when you got into the secondaries, I actually had a second return spring. So the pedal starts, the more he pushes the pedal, the more he knows where he's at in the carburetor, and for the enduro and for saving fuel. So, yeah, absolutely.
Even at Devil's Bowl, I just had that 602 crate in there, and I've gotten a couple top fives with it there, and so it's not about horsepower; it's about endurance,
right? For sure. So, but yeah. So when do you when do you return back to the States?
I'll be back next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
does that mean me and my new neighbor here can go smuggle the wagon out of the garage and go race it somewhere this weekend as long as we put it back before Wednesday?
Yeah.
The wagon needs a lot of work before it goes anywhere, I think.
Yeah, the wagon hadn't rolled since we was at 105 with it last year. So, if you want to get it running for me, that's fine. I don't mind that at all.
I think I am going to take if Hunt County doesn't rain out this weekend, I'm going to take the 199 up there and
nice
run it. So I got it. I'm working on getting it just about where Billy won't be able to drive it when he gets back. It's
far from the course.
He was like, whatever you do. Like I was talking about moving lead, and he's like, please just take pictures for me so I can put it all back.
Yeah, we got a little different driving style, and so we got two different setups for that thing depending on who's driving it.
Yeah, I went and got some more springs for it today. You didn't have some of them that I wanted. That one I spit out. I don't know where it ever ended up, so I replaced that.
Well, if you loan out your trailer, your wife, or your race car, I guarantee you none of those three will ever come back the same.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Never happened.
So far though, it might be a little better. I've put the aluminum hood on it. I got rid of the 5-ton steel hood that was on it, and we put an alternator on it for him. So hopefully, when he gets back, it's in a little better shape.
Are those spray painted numbers or duct tape?
Duct tape.
Well, spray paint weighs a little less.
Right,
you go ahead and peel that Gorilla Tape off there.
Well, you never know when you got to change the number.
There you go.
Yeah. No, we leave that. We're happy for I'm bad at names, but the Billy's buddy that owned that car before.
Yeah, Carol. Yeah,
Carol.
Yeah. We're happy to race his memory. And so
absolutely, he was a supporter of the 600 and is truly missed. You know what was missed the most about him though is I'm one of these guys. tell me like it is.
Right.
You're not,
Yeah.
You're going to say some stuff that I'm not going to agree with, but I admire where you stand. Just give it to me like it is. And that's one thing about old Billy is he would tell you exactly what was on his mind, when it was on his mind in that moment.
Yeah.
But then he'd move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all right. I told him we're all good now.
Yeah. So,
That's how it was. You didn't have to guess. You didn't have to guess where you stood with the man for sure.
Nope. He's truly missed for sure.
I've lost track of a bunch of comments here, but your mom commented something.
Oh yeah, she's happy about no transponders.
Oh, okay.
I mean, about using transponders. She wants to. She's ready to watch some racing. So I always tell her that her counting my laps was the only way I could get her to come to the track. So
are you going to have Larry back this year?
We'll see. I think he's in like Illinois or Indiana or some shit right now. So
I miss those fish fries. Yeah, we need to get Larry back. I didn't eat at the last 600 because I thought he was gonna have a fish fry, and I went hungry the whole 600.
Well, don't do that anymore. I know it's apples and oranges. I'm not trying to say one's better than the other, but when Skinny's there is always food in our pit.
Well,
he just makes sure that there's always food there. Like the Australians last year, they figured out like when mealtime was, and there's always a little food. He's just good at having finger foods out and stuff like that if you need a little snack. But they figured out when mealtime was, and they would make their way on over there. And he enjoys that. He enjoys feeding people and all that. And he's just like, for the pit party, he's like, we're going to need a lot of meat. And I'm like, you don't really have to feed everybody at the pit party. I'm like, he's a great friend. And he's like, well, that's just the way it is. And I'm just like, well, okay, all right. But yeah, so
good deal. Well, we're looking forward to that pit party. It's an element that, I usually get so consumed up with actually running the race and race operations, and sometimes I miss going around and getting to everybody and talking to everybody because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts. But the pit party, y'all coming on board, helping facilitate that and make that happen is going to be a good element because we'll be able to unwind. And going to transponders, the scoring of the race is a very intense deal.
I can imagine.
Todd Manchester does a phenomenal job with that. He's also on the receiver doing the scoring, so he's going to just transfer over to just doing the receiver and a little bit of the scoring, but he's not going to be as involved with that because Westhold will be there. So actually, I might be freed up to where I can actually come to the pit party and hang out a little bit. So that's going to be a good thing.
And it was very cool for the Jackson James. Like I just contacted him. I didn't know him, and I'm like, hey, how would you like to do a trade deal? Like no money involved. We'll put you on the side of the car. I do run it some locally, but mainly,
absolutely
at the 600. And he was just down for it. He's like, "Yep, sounds great to me. Let's do it." And he's like, "Send me some pictures and whatever." And so you hope it's a deal where they're an awesome band and they're trying to get so. We hope we bring a lot of people to him. We hope that it's great entertainment for everybody there for you. And I'm just down to have a good time. So it works out for me. I hope I help everybody. That's, I'm glad I'm good with that because all that comes back around in some way or another.
Right.
And
the main point of the SuperTech 600 is, just to have a good time.
Yeah.
Do a race that's different. It's not your standard run of the mill type event, but you can run any type of car that you do currently run weekly. And the good part about it is you don't have to qualify.
Right.
So,
and Rich comes out. I get to see him. We raced a lot together, Rich Denman.
Oh yeah.
And then
he's a phenomenal dude.
I had a guy named Dave Bauer got a hold of me here a while back, and him and Keith Hazlett are living near each other up in Oklahoma, and he was talking to me about it. He's like, I think we're going to put Keith Hazlett's ran it before, but now Dave's moved back there too, and they're trying to get something together for it. And
good time. It's a good time for sure. Like I say, if anybody on here is not registered, it is supertex600.com. So you can find all the registration information, and like I say, October 3rd and 4th, first weekend in October, like always, and at Rocket Raceway Park. We're excited to, hey, I'm not big on, hey, let's go to a new track every time. While there is excitement about going to a new track, so I'm not going to lose that, So it kind of works out good, I hated to, move it from 105, but 105 has, they have their Texas Grand and their Halloween Havoc.
Yeah.
And when we had the 600, then they have the Kent Lewis Classic. For Trent, it allows him to, not get burned out at one spot. So it works out good.
And two, Texas is big. Right?
Yes.
Like we all talk, Texas is big. So what do you get? 7 hours closer to the northern guys?
Yeah, it definitely helps out, the northern swing for sure. Being in, it's petty Texas, but Paris, I mean, they're kind of like Chandler and Tyler, they're one and the same.
Because we can go, if we go through El Paso, it's a longer drive through Texas than the rest of the way to get back home.
Right.
So, I say home, Bakersfield, California. But so yeah, it's kind of, I think, better probably to have it up there, a little northern. It's more centrally located.
Yeah, and that definitely showed when we were at Devil's Bowl. We do get some Houston area, I guess, support, but a lot of our support does come from, north of Houston. So
yeah. Brad, have you ever thought about going non-wing for a race weekend? Just curious, because not everyone has options for sprint car wings or the knowledge to drive with one.
Yeah. So as far as the sprint car wing, there's one aspect, since my son races sprint cars, there's one side that says, he might take his off. There is an advantage. The having the 4-barrel without the wing. The wing was kind of a novelty kind of deal.
Yeah.
And, there was one side that says, hey, I was thinking about taking it off, but then, we've had cars win without the wings.
Yeah.
The cars that, at the end of the day, the cars that win the race are usually the ones that don't have a mechanical failure. I don't think the wing adds that much. James Redis, out of Missouri, I believe, he won, and he was kind of a surprise because, if I'm not mistaken, I think the car was a 71 Le Mans. It was a Chevelle type frame, 68 through 72 Chevelle type frame, but it was just a Le Mans with, and I don't quote me on this exactly, I believe it had a crate motor in it with no wing.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was gone, so there's been several scenarios where, you look at some of the cars that are fast, there's several of them that don't have wings. They just don't quite have the luck.
And like at 105, the pace of the race, I guess there was some guy, like if you were one of the guys that was going to make a pit stop and change your tires, maybe a wing's going to help you. I got a wing on my car. I drive that thing pretty straight anyway. Like maybe the downforce helps a little bit, but I don't think the big boards on the side are doing a whole ton for me because I very rarely am turning my wheels. I'm not counter steering anyway.
Right.
So I don't know, but I've thought about that too. I'm just like, I could maybe take it off. I don't know. It would be interesting. But the thing is, I don't think I can take it off and test it on an open track because I'm not moving that fast when we're in the 600.
Right.
It's it's going to help when I'm going balls to the wall probably, but I don't, when you're just in the 600 and the pace is down a little bit, like, I don't know.
Right.
And it looks cool.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing, I always said, as far as all these body rules, I've said this for years. I think they should build like I'll use these terms, 7 foot wide by 7 foot high square.
Mm-hmm.
And if your car fits through the square, it's legal. I don't care what the body looks like.
Yeah.
And get rid of some of the body rules in some of these classes. Just if it fits through the square, you're good. But as far as the wings now, they'll stay. I have looked at doing some things. I know up north, they take the wings off and, they didn't slow down any. You go to the Iowa Enduro, and those guys, it doesn't slow them down. So it's kind of one of those deals.
Yeah. Gumboot here says need to get Billy to run a Calcutta at the pit party, and this is something I've thought about that. We never did it. I never been around a Calcutta until I started doing full tournaments, and that it's kind of a cool thing. And I don't know what the legalities of it all is and stuff like that, but in full tournaments they do the Calcutta where you buy players, and the pot is divided up and whatever, but it's kind of a cool thing. But it sounds a lot like gambling, also. So
right.
Yeah. I don't know how.
I think we got to call it a waffle.
A waffle, yeah.
But me and Donna's we were paired up. They had some previous winners at this 100-lapper that were all singled out, and then everybody else was paired up with a teammate or something like that. Me and Donna's was paired up, and I think we got the highest bid for like a team pair up, which was $850, I believe.
Nice.
And then, but I think the winner of it overall, or the highest bid was like $2,000 or something, and I think I forget how that works. It's like like it's kind of like a 50-50 deal, I think. How they did it, a portion of it goes to the track, and then a portion of it, the rest goes to whoever won the auction deal there. But yeah, mom want to know what time it is. It's about 11:30 over here in the morning. I am tired. I'm still not all over the hangover and the late night from after the races, but yeah. But I'm fixing to have to get off here, guys, because I got to get to washing some mud stuff. We got some plans later today, so we got to try getting all that shit took care of.
Before you hop off, I do want to tell y'all we do have some other little interesting information. The Kenco bucket trucks, SuperTech 600, they're going to have at Rocket Raceway. We're going to have a Little Tex 100 we're shooting for mid-August, so it'll be more or less a little 100-lap shakedown. So there'll be more details to follow on Rocket Raceway's page and the SuperTech 600 page, but it'll be the Little Tex 100. So for guys that are thinking about doing some stuff, mid-August, KR and the folks over at Rocket Raceway will put all the information out, but we're going to put together a little 100-lap, little shakedown enduros, folks that just want to get awareness out and do a little shakedown. So that's coming up too.
I love it. Now I got to really work and get my shit together. I'm usually waiting until about the end of September.
Yeah.
So now I got to.
Yeah, end of September, so you get ready. So July 4th you can start and you might make it for the Little Tex 100 there at Rocket.
Right. Shoot. Well, guys, it was good talking to y'all. Y'all can stay on here and talk as long as you want. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, we'll run through some sponsors and let Brad close up on anything he wants on the SuperTech. And
all right. Well, thanks for coming on, Brad.
Absolutely. Well, safe travels. I'll let you keep the seat warm next time.
Yeah,
I got one more without him. He's going to be on the plane next Tuesday. So
okay, okay.
Yeah,
well,
yeah. So y'all have fun.
I might come back.
Yeah, that'd be great. So I was going to hit Jesse up. Either one of you guys would be fine.
Sounds good.
So,
all right, sounds good, guys. We'll see y'all next time.
Okay,
be in touch.
Thank you, Billy. So yeah, we do have some people that help us out here with our buddy Skinny at Skinny's Automotive. We've already talked about him a fair amount here.
Well, I'm looking forward to his food. Yeah,
it's just, and he just loves it. And he's just been a huge supporter of mine and a lot of people's. And it'd just get blistering hot in Bakersfield, and he makes his food when on those super hot days, BLT sandwiches, so they're cold, everything. But he's always so much fun. He's entertaining. He's a great guy. He's a great cook, and just loves to feed everybody. So if you're out in Bakersfield, California, get that. Owen Pittman he made a couple comments. Got the big old screens, and
that's a neat deal.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it'll be at the SuperTech 600, but that is that screen is definitely a phenomenal addition to any race program.
It is for sure. Are addicted to dirt. I'm wearing the shirt. I'm doing them some signs. I put a little piece of metal up there, but trying to get all their stuff going out, and it's kind of fun. I'm starting to see them more on some podcasts, and then Ethan Dotson, he was on the World Outlaws deal the other day and had a shirt on, so it's
nice.
It's neat to see those guys moving along. We got Full Bore Race Products, I think, and they're the ones that help Billy with his suit and helmet, and also Devil Race Parts is this. They work together somehow. And I just wanted to run through those and thank all of them for doing what they do, helping support us, and it
absolutely
helps make
it takes everybody
go around. What did you say? Oh, comprehensive. They I went and met him at this $30,000 win deal. I'd never met him before. Needed some earbuds, and she took them right out of a package of a new race receiver, and then I went back and got some tear-offs and stuff. But I got to meet Dustin, and that was cool. So, what else on the SuperTech 600?
Man, we're just excited. It's building. We got phenomenal marketing partners, with the SuperTech 600. Of course, Kenco Bucket Trucks. Without them, it wouldn't be possible. They are by far a phenomenal, huge title sponsor of the event. We got First Class Septic. You see them all over Tyler's car. Sandra Erb's phenomenal there. Sandy Weld, they are phenomenal. Manchester's have been a huge supporter of the event. On-demand shirts, they've got some killer stuff they're working on for this year's shirt. Entertainment company, Tim Looney, H&R Air Conditioning, and Amana, Tom Richardson. We're just really excited. I've had a ton of support over the years for a long time. S&S Tire out of Kansas. So when you guys, for the out-of-towners, when y'all are going up and down the road, Scott Stewart up there at S&S Tire, I always kid because one of the things, I say this about trailer tires, and I'm getting on a side rant here, but we've been popping more trailer tires because the diesel trucks go a little faster. These roads are a lot hotter. So, when it says 85 max speed, 81 miles an hour on the side of the tire, they probably mean it.
Yeah.
So, we've been popping a lot of tires, but, for the guys that are making travels, go see Scott up there at S&S Tire, whether you got your toter home, your motor home, personal car truck. They're out of Kansas. They've been a huge supporter, and we got a lot of other people that are coming on board. So we're excited. And we're going to be rocking and rolling October 3rd and 4th.
How many years you been doing it?
This will be our 12th year. So
is our entries capped?
No, well, yes, they are capped. It usually it'll be capped at 200. We never really get to the 200 mark. It's kind of unique. It's we say it's capped. It was definitely capped at 105 just because we were out of room, out of space, out of light.
And the bummer of that was, I think some people kind of panic bought in the beginning and then didn't get to.
Yes, and then some people bought an entry with the intent of selling it, and it got really confusing because then they wanted me to kind of like try to keep up with it. Hey, sell my entry here, and so
I had a guy that he had actually paid for an infield pit the last year at Devil's Bowl, and he gave that to us, and then he got a hold of me for 105, and he's like, hey, if you guys need an entry, and I'm like, we didn't. I think Billy had an extra one or something also, and I just sent him to you because I was just like, you just call Brad on it.
Yeah. It gets a little complicating, but y'all can always call me 713-894-3748. My number's there on the site as well. But anybody got any questions at any time, always give me a ring.
And if it takes him a little bit to get back to you, he showed me his notifications on his phone. it's crazy, and we had to shut it off here just when we started this deal
Right.
because it just goes.
It goes. It definitely gets a lot of calls and messages, and I try to answer everybody back. So if I do miss your message, I always tell people you're not a bugaboo if you call me back or send me another
Right.
text, because sometimes they do get lost in the
Yeah.
shuffle.
So okay, I think we'll wrap it up. We've been here a little bit now, and in the bowling community, it's called an auction, and break down the rules and how the breakdown. He's talking about the Calcutta, but yeah, I don't know. It might be something interesting.
Yeah,
but
I'll leave that to one of you guys to do a side deal and keep that all amongst. Hey,
I don't know nothing about it.
Yeah. Hey, Owen, can you put the results on the big old screen?
yeah, exactly.
So, but anyway, but I appreciate your hospitality here, Lee. You got a neat place, awesome. There's a boat out there that I'm just mesmerized with.
Yeah,
so maybe
well,
I get on the water.
Heck yeah, we are. I'd messaged you at one point, July 4th at the resort. Jackson James will be playing there.
Okay.
And so I'm sure we'll have the boat out because we can park it right there, and we'll take it for a little joyride and whatever before he gets on. But if you guys aren't racing,
if we're not running that sprint car, we definitely might.
You stepped into you got back into a race car recently. Did I see that on Facebook?
Yeah. It's kind of a, I've had a couple back surgeries, so the tighter I pull the belts, my leg has a tendency to kind of fall asleep, my left leg. So anyway, but yeah, I climbed back in one to do a few little test hits for the Solo 275, which Caleb wound up driving Kent's car. So yeah, I should get down for a few laps, and then I realized I really missed it, and then I realized I'm just going to stick with my son winning races because that is rewarding. I know this sounds bad, but if I had my son out there and he wasn't doing good, I'd be like, son, let me show you how it's done.
Yeah.
Well, I lost those rights.
Yeah,
my son can get it done. So it's like, hey, Dad, let me show you how it's done.
Right. And what's his schedule look like too?
We're running 105 this coming weekend in the sprint car, and then we're running Cotton Bowl the following weekend. We have a 360 engine that we're going to be putting in a 410. We might try a little bit of 410 racing here. He's got to turn 18. That was the one thing that got us good. His first sprint car race we raced, I didn't know. I signed in, and then we got a call from IMCA and says, he raced? Yeah. They says, well, he can't. Like, what do you mean? So he had to sit out a year. He had a sprint car, and he had to watch for a year till he was old enough. So
Larry right there, I hauled him around when he was, how old were you? 16, 17, but he'd been racing before that. And he was winning a championship in Hawthorne, Nevada. And so his dad came championship night, and he signed my name because I'd been signing in at his dad and signing all the papers on it and everything. I've been signing all his releases and everything else all year long. So when his dad showed up, I'm like, we can't switch it up now. You got to be Lee Jensen.
Right. But and that's the one thing I do wish, closing it out, I wish more kids would get involved. Kenco bucket trucks, they own my son's sprint car. William Sellier and Jake Stipe, all these three kids, they started in karts, and Kenco sponsors William Sellier, which is Caleb's son, and sponsors Jake Stipe, which is Brian Stipe's son. Brian Stipe drives the push truck. So you'll see Kenco a lot of these cars, and he invests into the kids.
Right.
And that, as silly as it sounds, that makes my heart smile.
Yeah.
Because he, when you invest in kids, you're not going to get a whole ton of trophies on the wall right away.
Right.
You can go and invest in some hot shoe that's, and put your name on his car, and you're going to get yourself in a victory picture pretty quick.
Right.
And so when these sponsors do come on board and invest in these kids, those are the real MVPs. Those are, that's what really makes makes it happen. So, as far as anybody, I'm not telling sponsors don't invest in the 35-year-old guy that wins all the races, but those kids, it goes a long way.
Yeah, and that can be a fun part of nurturing somebody, helping them along.
Right.
Just
So
so many ways to be involved with that.
absolutely. So,
well,
good deal.
Yep. All right. So we're gonna get off here. We've been on here a long time. I told him about an hour, and we've been an hour and 20 minutes or so. So
well, again, I can't thank you enough, Lee. It's been
you bet. Well, thanks for
pleasure.
Thanks for coming and filling the empty seat.
I'm not as funny or as good looking as Billy, so he might have to come back.
None of us are. So
there you go.
Anyway, thank you all. Come back and see us next week, and have a good